So today is Independent Bookstore Day. You can see my little shirt I'm repping. This is my family's bookstore, Best of Books in Edmond, Oklahoma. So in honor of this wondrous day, I am going to go over my currently inked fountain pens, and this is all 5 of them. So I'll turn it over to overhead view so you can see what's going on. But I just wanted to give a shout out to all independent bookstores. Happy Independent Bookstore Day. And if you missed the wonderful day, you can still use this week to support your favorite local establishment. So I hope you enjoy the video. So these are the 5 pens that I use probably the most consistently. They are used for like different purposes and in different journals, but I use them all, if not on a daily basis, at least on a weekly basis. So these are kind of my 5 ride or die at the moment, although they definitely change. So I'm just going to go through them like shortest to longest. So we'll start with my Kaweco Brass Sport. First I'll put currently inked at the top of the page. So as I mentioned in my last video, this is my most used and probably my favorite pen of all time. And it's got a fine tip. And right now I have Diamine Sherwood Green in it, which I just really love the color of this green. So you can see it just has a nice like richness to it, like a darkness to it. I had never really used green ink before this year and before this color, and now I don't know why I hadn't before, because I love it and I love the way that this green ink looks. And you can see I have I'll talk about this ink, it's in one of my other pens, but this is just from carrying the bottle upstairs. So it looks like I don't know, it looks like I punched a bunch of things. Not great. So probably my second most used pen is my Merlina pen. So I got this from Peyton Street Pens, and it's manufactured in Denmark or the Netherlands. There's some question about whether it's manufactured in Germany. And this is from the 1950s, so it's actually my first vintage pen. And it's really small. I mean, if you can see, it's just as small as the Kaweco Brass Sport. So it's like a little pocket pen, but much lighter. And this design is called Cracked Ice, and it's got a button fill system. You can see that right there. Yeah, so I use this quite a lot, especially in my Hobonichi for whatever reason. I don't know why how it got associated with that. Don't know, but it's this is sort of my memory keeping pen, is what I call it. So I just put ink in it, so it's really wet. You can kind of see it's a really wet tip. So it's also a fine, and it's called an everyday flex, which is supposed to be a little bit better than a semi-flex. So it's a 14K nib, if you can C585. It's really small, like really, really tiny little nib. If you can look at it in comparison to the Pilot Kakuno, it's just a really tiny, tiny little nib. But it writes really well, and I love the way that this ink looks in it. So this is Diamine Marine. You can kind of see this flex when I do this. It's a really wet ink, and it's a really wet nib. Like it just, but it, especially on the Hobonichi paper, it just looks really beautiful. And there's a lot of, it's hard to kind of see. I mean, there's some variation in this little writing sample, but you can really see it when I write in the Hobonichi. And I also like, I don't know, I'm like kind of nervous. It's my first thing, so my handwriting's kind of poor. But I really love this pen. It's served me very well for my first vintage fountain pen. And so it screws on. It's got a screw on top, and it posts really nice, and it's really lightweight. It just feels really good in your hand. So not a super well-known pen brand, but I'm really into it. Okay, so next one. This probably, I keep saying this is my most used pen, but like these three are definitely the ones I use most consistently. This also tends to be used to, like, I don't know how this happens, that I like use specific pens for specific purposes, but I use this for to-do list a lot of the time, or specifically for scheduling. Again, no idea why. This is a great pen though, like super cheap, great beginner pen. You know, I put a little converter in it. It's not super full. I need to fill it up here in a minute, but it's just like an awesome, just throw in your bag. Like I don't have to worry if someone, I don't let people borrow fountain pens usually, but if someone wanted to borrow it, I don't have to worry so much because I know it could be pretty easily replaced. I like the fact that it's a demonstrator pen. It's fun, it's easy to write with. Not much wrong with this pen. And it's got, you know, the cute little nib. It's got like a little smiley face on it. So this is the Pilot Kakuno. And I believe it has like a little, there you go. And it's a fine nib. And in this pen I have Black Swan in Australian Roses. And you can probably hear it's scratchier than the other pens that I've done, and I really like that about it. I like the feedback and the scratchiness, because it's still smooth, like it's still a very smooth writing experience, but definitely a lot, you know, scratchier. Got some nice ASMR stuff going on. Okay, so those are my like three most used pens. So we'll move on to the ones I don't use that often but are still currently inked right now. So this one is really interesting. So I got this as a graduation gift when I got my master's, and this is the saddest part, is that I have no idea who made this pen. I lost the little card that came with it, and I don't have that great of a memory, so because of that, I have no idea. So I'm really hoping I can figure that out soon because it's really pretty, and it's got, I mean, I really just love the swirls and the different color variations that you can see, the blue and pink and orange and red, and yeah, I just really enjoy it. It writes really well too. It's got an iridium point nib, writes really nicely. Yeah, so I don't use this pen a whole lot. I had an extra Kaweco cartridge that I wasn't using, so I put the Kaweco cartridge in there. So it's got blue ink in it. And I should say that Black Swan in Australian, that's a Noodler's ink for anyone that's interested. So we're just gonna call this the red, it's like the red swirl pen, I guess. It's got a fine nib, and it's a Kaweco, I don't know what the exact color on this, but yeah, Kaweco blue, we'll call it. So the only reason I don't use this pen a lot, because you can see it glides really well on the page. It writes really nicely. So the only reason I don't use it that often is because I don't like this part, like this, I like it to be a full, solid body, and I'm not a big fan of that. It's like a little too small for my fingers. It just feels like really cramped a lot of times when I'm writing with it. I think it's just the case of some handmade pens too, because this I think looks kind of like a kit, but I like the way that it's posted. It's got a good weight to it, not too heavy, a nice thing. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good pen. I like it. Feels very solid and official. Like a good graduation present. Okay, and then finally I'm ending with like a well-used pen, but a pen I actually don't like all that much. So I don't know. I mean, I know that people have multiple Lamys, and I know that people really like their Lamys. Lamy, I'll call it Lamy. And I just have never, I just haven't been a huge fan, to be honest. Yeah, maybe it's just me. Maybe this pen got damaged at some point. I'm not really sure. But not my favorite, but I still use it like pretty consistently. Just because I put black ink in it, and I usually always have black ink in this pen, and I like black ink. Like black is my favorite color. It sounds so dark. Yeah, so I use it a lot. I just don't particularly like it. So I think I might have to find like another black ink pen. I don't know. It's that I think what it is about this pen is that it feels like it gives me a lot of feedback, and it catches sometimes, and I think I fixed the ink flow on it. It's not as bad, but it used to just not be super consistent. So yeah. And then because I didn't put Noodlers on the other one, I'm going to make sure that I put Noodlers on this. And this is American Eel. See, you can like hear the feed, and you can kind of see it in my handwriting. It's just not super smooth. So if you have any suggestions on that, like, please hit me up, because I really want to like this pen because I love the look of it, and it feels so good in my hand, but I just am not a huge fan. So you can see I don't have any I'm about to buy probably my most expensive pen here in a couple weeks. So I don't have like super, I have like a couple really nice pens, and then a bunch of just kind of starter pens, and it serves me well. It's a great starting collection, and I've been using fountain pens for 4 years now, 4 or 5 years. So I tend to be pretty minimalist because I move a lot, so I don't have a whole lot of stuff, but I'm really looking forward to sort of growing my pen collection over time. And yeah, because I really love fountain pens. I obsessively look for fountain pens too, and yeah, it's definitely a huge hobby. So this is, part of my collection that will continue to grow. And yeah, if you have any thoughts, just leave them in the comments below.